暗，仿佛让人们还能听见前面殿堂里面醉鬼们的大呼小叫。据说在这个酒馆里曾经发生过一起华人的斗殴事件，喝醉酒的华人在争执和咒骂声中动起手来，结果一个人被另一个人杀死。
Stuart's great-grandfather, who we didn't know, he died before Stuart was born, but he was Chinese. He came from China and I came out here. Actually, he was born in Melbourne. All his family were born in Melbourne, but then they moved back to Hong Kong, and then he came back with some of his brothers as a young man, and he spoke Chinese. And your uncle, Roger, he wanted to learn Chinese when he was a boy, but Pa said, oh no, you don't want to learn that, so he wouldn't teach him. Yeah. I suppose he thought to get on, you know, in an English-speaking city, you didn't need to speak Chinese. Yeah.
The Chinese background, well, my great-grandfather on my grandmother's side, he was a surgeon on the ship, and he came out in about the 1875s as a surgeon on the ship. He had a practice down here in the Chinese area of what we call Peel Street at this stage, and he used to have his own practice. He used to walk from the hospital to his home every day and treat patients, and he was stated as the first man to have a cure for diphtheria. Mm. On my father's side, his parents came out from China as merchants, so they were on two different sides. Both great-grandfathers were both China, come from China.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was that when you would talk about it to your friends, the only understanding of China that they had were from American cartoons or from American shows, and there was a lot of American propaganda and English propaganda and misunderstanding of what it is. So they thought, you know, to be Chinese is this, you know, like, and they would put that in a box and they would tell you about these things. So, you know, they would assume all of the usual cultural stereotypes and imagine that that's what your family was, you know.
My Chinese heritage is interesting because I was born to a Chinese father, or he was actually only 3/4 Chinese, and an Australian mother. And my father's father came from Guangdong province, or late 1800s, and he married a woman who was born here. She was half Chinese. I can remember my sister at a very young age asking him, "Dad, are we Chinese?" And he said, "No, you're an Australian." And we knew from looking at him that he was Chinese, so wow, we must be Chinese too. But it was never spoken about in our family.
I'm a mature student who's just completed her PhD at the university, with a particular focus on my Chinese connections. And so the connection is, my mother is not Chinese. My mother was adopted by a Chinese family.
Right.
Which is unusual.
Yes, that's
But,
really unusual.
My mother was raised in Ballarat with the Chinese,